The human researcher David had always dreamed of seeing worlds beyond his own. When the chance came to join a mission to explore a newly discovered planet, he had jumped at it. The planet, called Zithera by the scientists, was said to be filled with strange plants, glowing rivers, and creatures unlike anything seen before. But no one had expected that it held secrets far beyond imagination. David's ship landed in a wide valley surrounded by tall crystal mountains that reflected the sunlight in thousands of colors. The air felt different, thick yet fresh, carrying a sweet scent he could not identify. He stepped outside, adjusting his helmet, and felt a shiver of excitement. This was not just another assignment. Something about this place felt alive in a way that almost seemed aware. He began walking along a path that led deeper into the valley. The ground beneath his boots was soft, almost like moss, and tiny luminous insects floated in the air, leaving trails of light as they moved. Every step brought him closer to the heart of the valley, and he could not shake the feeling that someone or something was watching him. Hours passed, and David noticed a faint structure in the distance. It was unlike any human building he had ever seen. Towering spires reached toward the sky, each adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to glow faintly. The entire city shimmered as if made of liquid glass, reflecting the sunlight in gentle waves. His heart pounded. No one had mentioned a city. No one had said that Zithera was inhabited. Curiosity pushed him forward, and soon he reached the outskirts of the city. Here the streets were empty, silent, yet every surface gleamed with strange energy. Suddenly movement caught his eye. A figure walked gracefully along a bridge that spanned a river of liquid light. She moved with perfect balance, almost floating, and yet her presence commanded attention. David froze. She was tall, taller than any human he had seen, with smooth, pale skin that shimmered softly in the sunlight. Her hair fell like silver threads down her back, and her eyes were deep and golden, radiating both warmth and authority. She wore a robe that seemed to shift colors with every step, blending with the environment yet standing out in its beauty. He realized, almost breathless, that she was watching him. Their eyes met for a moment, and a strange feeling washed over him, something he could not name. It was awe, fear, curiosity, and something more. His heart raced, and yet he felt strangely calm, as if he had known her in some other life. For a moment, David considered retreating. This was not a human city. This was not a place for him. And yet he could not turn away. Something inside him whispered that this encounter was meant to happen. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. "Hello?" he called softly. His voice echoed strangely, carried by the city like a gentle wind. The figure paused, tilting her head slightly. Then, without a word, she beckoned him forward. David's steps were careful but quick, and he crossed the bridge with a mix of wonder and nervousness. As he approached, he noticed the subtle details of the city, the way the walls seemed alive, pulsing with energy, the soft hum that filled the air like music, and the faint patterns that moved across every surface as if telling a story. When he reached the center of the bridge, the figure finally spoke, her voice clear and melodic. "You are not like the others," she said. There was no accusation, only observation. David swallowed hard. "I'm a researcher. I study planets, life, and I mean no harm." She smiled faintly, a gesture that made the city feel warmer. "Your kind has come before, seeking knowledge or power. But you are different. You have respect and, perhaps, courage." David nodded, unsure how to respond. He could only stare, amazed at the being before him. "I want to understand your world," he said finally, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. The figure studied him for a long moment, then gestured to the city behind her. "Come. You may walk among us, but you must learn our ways. Only then will you understand." David felt a mix of relief and excitement. He followed her across the bridge, entering the city fully. The streets were lined with buildings that seemed alive, each one glowing faintly from within. He noticed creatures moving in the distance, tall, elegant, some with wings, others with long limbs, all going about their daily tasks with a grace that seemed impossible. Humans would have called it magical. As they walked, David tried to ask questions, but words failed him. He had never seen anything like this. The city was both alien and beautiful, and the queen, he now realized she must be the queen, moved with such authority that all attention seemed drawn to her. Yet she did not demand it. It was given freely by all who saw her. Eventually, they reached a large plaza. In the center was a fountain that flowed with liquid light, changing colors like the sky at sunset. The queen paused beside it. "You are curious," she said, almost a statement rather than a question. "And yet you are brave. You have stepped into a world that is not yours without fear. That is rare among humans." David felt a surge of pride mixed with awe. I want to learn. I want to see your world and understand it." The queen looked at him for a long time, her golden eyes searching. "Perhaps," she said softly, "you will see more than you expect." At that moment, David felt a strange pull, as if something larger than himself had drawn him here. He did not know what awaited him in this city, or what secrets the queen held. But for the first time in his life, he felt a certainty, a sense that everything he had done, every choice he had made, had led him to this moment. He would discover the wonders of this alien world. He would face challenges he could not yet imagine. And perhaps he would find a connection that would change his life forever. The queen turned, her eyes holding his just a moment longer, and then she walked toward the palace that rose at the far end of the plaza. David followed, heart racing, mind spinning with curiosity and hope. He did not yet know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. His life had changed forever the moment he stepped into her world. And he could not wait to see what came next. Avid followed the alien queen through the glowing streets of the city, his eyes wide with wonder. Every building, every street seemed alive. Soft light moved across the walls like flowing water, and the air hummed gently, almost like music. He could hear whispers in the distance, voices speaking a language he did not understand, but somehow he felt calm and safe. The queen moved gracefully, her presence commanding yet gentle. David noticed how the alien people paused as she passed, bowing slightly or stepping aside. They treated her with respect, not out of fear, but out of admiration. She noticed him staring. "Do you wish to understand our people?" she asked softly, her golden eyes studying him. David nodded quickly. "Yes, I want to learn everything I can." "Then you must observe, not only speak. Listen to the silence, watch the movement, and feel the energy around you. Our world is not only seen, it is experienced." He tried to absorb her words. Every step he took felt heavier and lighter at the same time. He could sense that this place was ancient and wise, yet full of life and energy. Small creatures passed by, some with translucent wings, others with long, slender limbs. They looked at him curiously, but did not fear him. The queen led him to a large square where a group of alien children played. They were learning how to move with balance and control, guided by older members of their society. David watched as they floated above the ground, guided by invisible energy fields that allowed them to defy gravity for a few moments. The children laughed, a sound that was musical and pure. "These are our young ones," the queen explained. "They are trained to respect the energy of our world from the beginning. They learn to see beyond what is obvious." David felt a pang of admiration. He had never seen anything like this. On Earth, children played games that were simple and physical. But here they learned balance, control, and harmony with their environment. It was beautiful, almost magical. As they continued walking, David tried to ask questions about their society, their ways, and their history. The queen answered in small pieces, careful not to overwhelm him. She told him about the importance of balance, respect, and patience. She explained that their civilization had survived for thousands of years because they valued understanding and cooperation over conflict. David listened, fascinated. Every answer led to more questions. He tried to understand how a society so advanced could remain peaceful and harmonious. The queen smiled as she watched his curiosity. "You are brave to ask," she said. "Many outsiders come and only take, but you seek to understand. That is rare." They reached a building that appeared to float slightly above the ground. The queen gestured for David to enter. Inside, he saw walls filled with glowing symbols, each moving slowly like living things. The air was warm and comforting, and he could sense a quiet energy that made him feel alert yet calm. "This is our knowledge center," the queen said. "Here we store the lessons of generations. You may read, observe, and learn, but remember, understanding is more than seeing. It is feeling and respecting." David stepped inside, running his hands lightly over the glowing surfaces. Information flowed into his mind, not in words, but in feelings, patterns, and light. He saw histories of the alien people, their achievements and their struggles. He saw how they had overcome challenges through patience and unity. Every piece of knowledge made him more amazed. Hours passed like minutes. David felt both exhausted and exhilarated. He realized that he was learning not just about a new world but also about himself, how he could see, feel, and connect in ways he had never imagined. The Queen observed him silently, then spoke. "You are beginning to understand, but there is more to learn. The heart of our world is not only in knowledge but in trust and respect. You must show these qualities to be truly accepted." David nodded. He wanted to prove himself, to show that he respected her and her people. He spent the next few days observing their society, helping where he could. He assisted in repairing a small energy conduit that powered one of the public gardens. Though his human hands were clumsy at first, he learned quickly, guided by the Queen's subtle instructions. Each day he spent more time with the Queen, walking, talking, and learning. He began to understand her values, her strength, and her kindness. Though she was a ruler, she was not distant. She taught him not with authority but with patience. Her wisdom and grace made him feel both humbled and inspired. One evening, as the sun set and the city's lights glowed brighter, David found himself standing beside her on a balcony overlooking the plaza. The view was breathtaking. The light from the city reflected on the water below, creating a shimmering pattern that seemed alive. "Your world is beautiful," he said softly. She smiled faintly, golden eyes reflecting the glow. "Beauty is in balance, in respect, and in understanding. You are beginning to see it." David felt a surge of courage. I want to be part of this, not just to study it, but to belong, to understand fully, and to respect it always." The Queen looked at him closely. Her expression was unreadable, yet he sensed a flicker of approval. "You must continue to learn. Only then will your place be clear." Over the following days, David grew more confident in his abilities to interact with the alien people. He learned their customs, their ways of greeting, and even some of their language. He realized that trust had to be earned, and he worked hard to show that he was sincere. Slowly, he noticed that the Queen began to include him in more private matters, seeking his opinion, asking for his observations, and occasionally smiling at his simple attempts at understanding. David's admiration for her grew every day, not just for her beauty or power, but for her wisdom, kindness, and patience. He found himself thinking about her constantly, wondering what it would mean to be accepted fully into her world. One quiet night, after the city had grown still and the stars shone above like countless diamonds, David stood alone for a moment thinking. He realized that his feelings had changed. He no longer just wanted to study her or her people. He wanted to be close to her, to share in her life, to understand her as more than a queen. The thought both thrilled and terrified him. This was a being unlike any other, with powers and responsibilities far beyond his imagination. Could a human even be accepted? Could he ever truly belong? And yet, despite his doubts, he felt a quiet certainty. Something deep inside him whispered that this connection, however impossible it seemed, was real. And for the first time, he felt that his journey on Scythera was no longer about discovery alone. It was about connection, understanding, and the possibility of something extraordinary. David looked up at the distant palace where the Queen resided. He did not yet know what challenges lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. He was no longer just an observer. He was becoming a part of her world, step by step, moment by moment. And in that truth he found hope, courage, and the first stirrings of a bond that could change everything. Days turned into weeks as David continued learning and exploring the alien city. He walked beside the alien queen more often now, observing her routines, listening to her guidance, and helping where he could. With each passing day, he understood more about her world and more about himself. Despite the many wonders of Scythera, David could no longer ignore the feelings that had grown inside him. He admired her not only for her beauty and power, but also for her wisdom, her patience, and her kindness toward her people. The way she moved, spoke, and even simply watched over her city left a deep impression on him. He had never met anyone like her, and he felt an irresistible urge to share his heart. One evening, the city was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of the twin moons that hung low in the sky. David followed the Queen to a garden she often visited, a place where the light of the moons reflected off the crystal flowers, making the entire area shimmer with silver and blue. The garden was filled with soft sounds, water trickling from small fountains, the faint hum of energy in the plants, and the occasional flutter of alien creatures among the blossoms. The Queen stopped by a small fountain at the center. She looked at the flowing water, her expression calm and thoughtful. David took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been thinking about for days. His heart pounded and his palms felt sweaty, but he knew he could not wait any longer. "Your Majesty," he began softly, unsure of the words yet determined to speak them. She turned toward him, her golden eyes meeting his. I need to say something. Something important." She waited silently, giving him space to speak. Her presence was comforting yet powerful, and David felt both small and courageous at the same time. "I have come to your world as a researcher," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I wanted to study your people, learn your ways, and understand your world. But something has changed. Over the past weeks I've realized that my feelings for you have grown beyond admiration or respect. I care for you deeply. I want to be close to you, not just as a visitor or observer, but as someone who shares in your life." The Queen's gaze did not waver. David swallowed hard and continued. "I know I am human and I do not belong to your world in the same way you do, but I cannot deny my heart. I desire to be with you, to share in your life, and if you would allow it, I would like to marry you." For a long moment, silence filled the garden. The water of the fountain shimmered under the moonlight, casting reflections across David's face. He felt a mixture of fear and hope, knowing he had risked everything by speaking so openly. Then, slowly, the Queen smiled. It was a smile that made the entire garden feel warmer, as if the moons themselves had brightened in approval. "Then I shall," she said simply, her voice soft yet certain. David blinked in surprise, barely believing what he had heard. You would?" he asked, his voice trembling with emotion. The Queen stepped closer. "I see your heart, your respect, and your courage. Many have come before you seeking power, wealth, or knowledge, but you seek understanding and connection. That is rare. You have shown patience, humility, and sincerity. These qualities are what matter to me." David felt a rush of relief and joy. He could hardly find words. I don't know what to say," he admitted. "You need not say anything," the Queen replied, her smile growing. "Your actions have spoken for you. You have already shown your heart through your deeds and your patience. That is enough." He took a step closer, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spreading through him. "I promise to respect your world, your people, and your ways. I will do everything I can to honor you and your culture. I want to belong, if you allow me." The Queen looked deeply into his eyes as if searching for any hint of deceit. Finding none, she nodded. "I believe you, and I accept you. Our bond will be tested, for our worlds are different, but it will also grow stronger if we are patient and true to one another." David felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He had never felt so accepted, so understood. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I will not disappoint you." "You do not need to prove yourself," she said gently. "You have already shown your heart. That is more than enough." For the first time since arriving on Zithra, David felt a profound sense of peace. The fear, the uncertainty, and the overwhelming newness of this alien world seemed to fade in that moment. He knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he had formed a bond that could withstand them. They spent the rest of the evening walking through the garden, speaking quietly about their hopes and dreams. David learned more about her childhood, her responsibilities as a queen, and the challenges she faced in leading her people. He shared stories of his life on Earth, the simple joys and struggles of being human, and she listened with curiosity and interest. Despite the differences in their worlds, they found common ground in their values: respect, patience, and the desire to understand and help others. Every shared thought, every smile, and every word strengthened their connection. By the time the twin moons hung low over the horizon, David realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a visitor on an alien planet. He was someone who had shared his heart with a being of extraordinary power and wisdom, and she had welcomed him in return. As they stood together near the fountain, the water reflecting the soft light of the moons, David felt a quiet certainty. He did not yet know all the challenges that awaited him, but he knew one thing: he would face them willingly, because this bond, this connection, was worth everything. And as he looked at the alien queen, golden eyes meeting his own, he understood that their journey together had only just begun. The city around them shimmered, alive and vibrant, and David knew that he was now part of a story far greater than himself. A story of trust, courage, and a bond that crossed the boundaries of worlds. After David's confession, the alien queen had welcomed him into her world in a way that no outsider ever had been. Though their bond was new, it grew stronger with every passing day. David spent hours learning her people's customs, helping with small tasks, and observing the harmony of life in the city. The queen, too, began to trust him more deeply, including him in her decisions and letting him see aspects of her world that were usually hidden from outsiders. One morning, the queen summoned David to her palace. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of crystal flowers from the gardens below. The palace itself seemed alive, glowing softly as light moved across its walls. David approached cautiously, a mix of excitement and nervousness running through him. "You have shown great respect and understanding," the queen said as he entered. "Your presence is no longer a curiosity to my people. You are accepted among us, and now it is time to prepare for what comes next." David's heart skipped a beat. He had imagined this moment many times in his mind, but hearing it from her lips made it real. I am honored," he said, bowing slightly. "I will do whatever is needed." The queen smiled gently. "Our union is rare. Few humans have been accepted fully into our society. It is not only a bond of hearts, but a union of worlds. There will be challenges, but also great rewards." Over the following days, preparations began. David learned about the rituals and traditions required for an alien-human union. He watched as artisans created ceremonial robes that shimmered like liquid metal, and he studied the intricate customs that honored both human and alien heritage. Every detail mattered, and the queen personally guided him, explaining the meaning behind each step. One afternoon, she led him to a large hall where her advisors and elders gathered. Their faces were serious, and some regarded David with cautious curiosity. The queen introduced him, speaking of his courage, respect, and patience. She explained how he had earned their trust and the acceptance of their society. David listened carefully, bowing and speaking with humility. He answered questions honestly, showing his sincerity and respect for their ways. Slowly, the expressions of the advisors softened. By the end of the meeting, nods of approval were exchanged, and some even smiled at him. Despite the formalities, David also spent quiet moments with the queen. They walked through moonlit gardens, sharing stories, laughing softly at small jokes, and learning about each other's worlds. He told her about Earth, about oceans, forests, and the stars, and she shared memories of her youth, of her training as a queen, and of the hope she held for her people. During one evening walk, David paused near a shimmering fountain. "I know this will not be easy," he said softly. "Our worlds are so different. Some may never understand why this union exists." The queen looked at him, golden eyes steady and calm. "Differences are not barriers. They are lessons. You have learned to respect my world, and I have seen your heart. That is what matters. Challenges will come, yes, but together, we will face them." David felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of admiration and love. "I want to honor you, your people, and this world. I want to do everything right." "You already have," the queen replied, "by being sincere, patient, and respectful. That is enough to begin." As the days passed, the city itself seemed to embrace David's presence. People greeted him warmly, some sharing knowledge of their arts and sciences, others inviting him to partake in celebrations. He saw that his bond with the queen had created a ripple of trust, making him a bridge between human and alien worlds. One evening, as the twin moons rose high, the queen led David to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The lights of the city shimmered below like stars fallen to the ground. The gentle hum of energy filled the air, mingling with the soft sound of flowing water from nearby fountains. "Our ceremony will honor both our worlds," the queen explained. "It will not only bind our hearts but symbolize the unity of human and alien peoples. Many eyes will watch, but remember, David, what matters is sincerity, not perfection." David nodded, feeling a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. "I will remember. I only hope I can do justice to what this means." The queen reached out, taking his hand gently. "Your heart has already spoken more than words ever could. That is enough. The rest will follow naturally." As they stood together, watching the city glow beneath them, David realized how much he had changed since arriving on Zithera. He was no longer a mere observer, a visitor in a strange land. He had become part of something greater, a world filled with wisdom, beauty, and life beyond imagination. The days leading up to the ceremony were filled with learning and preparation. David practiced the rituals under the Queen's guidance, learning the movements, gestures, and words required. At first he felt clumsy and uncertain, but with patience and encouragement he began to perform them with confidence. Each practice deepened his understanding of the Queen's culture and strengthened their bond. Meanwhile, the Queen continued to teach him about leadership, compassion, and balance. She showed him how decisions affected not just individuals but the harmony of the entire city. David listened carefully, realizing that her wisdom went far beyond anything he had seen on Earth. He felt lucky not only to love her but to learn from her every day. Finally, the day of the ceremony arrived. The city was alive with energy, glowing with anticipation. Citizens gathered in the great plaza, their faces filled with curiosity and respect. The twin moons shone brightly above, casting silver light over the crystalline buildings. David stood beside the Queen, heart pounding but steady. He felt a calm certainty, knowing that he was ready for this moment. The Queen's hand found his, her golden eyes meeting his. "Remember, David," she said softly, "this is more than ceremony. It is a promise, a connection of hearts. Be true and nothing else matters." David nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "I will be true," he whispered. As the ceremony began, David marveled at the beauty and meaning of each ritual. The flowing robes, the shimmering symbols, the music of the city. It was a celebration of unity, respect, and love. He felt honored to be part of it, and as he looked at the Queen, he realized that this was only the beginning of their journey together. By the time the ceremony concluded, the city seemed to glow even brighter. David and the Queen stood side by side, their bond recognized and accepted by all. Though challenges would come, they had faced the first step together, and their connection had grown stronger than ever. In that moment, David knew that his life had changed forever. He had found not only love, but purpose, acceptance, and a place in a world far beyond his imagination. And as he looked into the Queen's eyes, he felt a certainty that together, they could face anything that lay ahead. The city of Zithara buzzed with quiet excitement. Citizens from all corners of the alien world had gathered to witness a historic moment. Today was not just a celebration of a union. It was a symbol of trust, harmony, and the bond between two very different worlds. David stood beside the alien Queen, feeling a mix of nervousness and awe. The Queen looked calm and radiant, her golden eyes glowing softly in the morning light. Her ceremonial robe shimmered like liquid silver, flowing gracefully with every movement. David adjusted his own attire, a robe made to honor both human tradition and the Queen's culture. It was strange and beautiful, a reminder of the incredible journey that had brought him here. As they approached the central plaza, David noticed the citizens watching with respect, their expressions a mix of curiosity and admiration. Children peeked from behind their parents, their eyes wide with wonder at the unusual but elegant ceremony. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. This was the moment he had prepared for, the moment that would seal not only his bond with the Queen but also his place in this world. The Queen turned to him, her gaze steady. "Remember, David," she said softly, "this is more than a ceremony. It is a promise of respect, trust, and shared life. Speak from your heart and all will follow." David nodded, his throat dry but his heart full. "I understand," he whispered. He had rehearsed the words, but now, in front of so many eyes, they felt heavier, more meaningful. The ceremony began with a procession of light. Streams of glowing energy swirled around them, guided by the Queen's people. They moved gracefully, almost floating above the ground, their patterns forming symbols that told stories of harmony, courage, and love. David watched in amazement, feeling the energy wash over him like a warm wave. He could sense the unity of the city, the quiet approval and blessing of the people around them. When the procession ended, the Queen led David to the ceremonial platform, a circular stage of crystal that reflected the twin moons above. He stood beside her, feeling both small and significant at the same time. The Queen raised her hands and the energy of the city seemed to respond, forming gentle arcs of light that framed them. "David," she said, her voice clear and melodic, "do you promise to honor, respect, and cherish not only me but the world and people I lead? Do you accept the responsibility of this union, knowing it binds more than hearts but worlds as well?" David looked into her golden eyes, his heart overflowing with emotion. "I do," he said firmly. "I promise to honor you, to respect your world and your people, and to share my life with you with sincerity, love, and courage." The queen nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Then I accept you fully as a partner, a friend, and a companion. Together we will face the future, united and strong." As she spoke, the streams of energy around them intensified, forming a brilliant circle of light that encompassed both David and the queen. The citizens of Scythera responded, their hands raised in acknowledgement, their voices joining in a harmonious sound that resonated across the city. It was a celebration not only of love but of trust, acceptance, and unity. David felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of belonging he had never known before. He reached for the queen's hand and she took it gently, their fingers interlocking naturally. For the first time he felt completely at peace, certain that this was where he was meant to be. After the ceremony, the couple walked through the city, greeted by cheers and smiles. People offered blessings, small gifts, and tokens of goodwill. David marveled at how welcoming everyone was, how they accepted him not just as a visitor but as part of their community. It was overwhelming and beautiful, a sign that the queen's trust had opened doors he never imagined could exist. In the evening, the queen led David to a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons reflected off the crystal buildings, creating a shimmering landscape that looked like a living painting. David felt a quiet awe at the beauty, but more than that, he felt gratitude. Gratitude for the journey that had brought him here, for the lessons he had learned, and for the bond he now shared with the queen. "You have grown much since you first arrived," the queen said softly, her golden eyes watching him. "You have learned, adapted, and shown patience. You have also shown courage to speak your heart even when unsure of the answer. That is what matters most." David smiled, feeling a deep connection. "I have learned from you," he said. "From your wisdom, your kindness, and your patience. You have shown me a world far beyond anything I imagined. And I am grateful, more than words can say." The queen placed a hand gently on his cheek, a gesture that made David's heart swell. "Then we begin together," she said. "Not just as companions, but as partners. Our bond will guide us through whatever comes next." Over the following days, David settled into life in the Queen's city. He continued learning about her culture, helping with small projects and sharing knowledge of his own world. Though the challenges of adapting to a new civilization were many, he approached them with patience and curiosity. The Queen was always nearby, offering guidance, support, and quiet encouragement. Together, they explored the city, its gardens, libraries, and halls of knowledge. David introduced small customs from Earth, which fascinated the citizens and were integrated into their ceremonies. In return, the Queen taught him advanced practices of harmony and energy control, showing him the delicate balance that kept their world alive and thriving. One night, as the twin moons hung low in the sky, David and the Queen sat quietly in the garden. The air was filled with the gentle hum of energy, the soft glow of crystal flowers, and the peaceful sounds of the city sleeping. David took her hand, holding it gently. "I never imagined my life could be like this," he said softly. "I came here to study, to explore. But I found so much more. I found trust, acceptance, and you." The Queen smiled, her golden eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Life often brings unexpected paths," she said. "What matters is the heart. You have shown yours, and it has been accepted. Together, we will continue to grow, to learn, and to face whatever comes our way." David felt a deep sense of contentment. He knew that the future would hold challenges, but he also knew that with the Queen by his side, they could overcome anything. Their bond was not just a promise of love, but a commitment to understanding, respect, and unity between worlds. As they watched the moons reflect over the city, David realized that his journey had transformed him. He had come as a visitor, unsure and cautious, but he would stay as a partner, a friend, and a part of a world far beyond his own. And in that realization, he felt hope, courage, and a sense of destiny fulfilled. The city of Scythera shimmered below, alive with energy and light. The bond between David and the Queen glowed as brightly as the twin moons above. Together, they stood hand in hand, ready to face the future, united in heart, mind, and purpose. And in that unity, a new chapter began, not only for them, but for the harmony of two worlds intertwined.